Hey y'all, welcome back to the Tres Cuervos workshop. I am Aaron, and today I want to talk about making leather hat patches like this one. Let's get to it. All right, I am in xTool Studio, and I am just going to create the patch that I would like to make. So I'm going to start with the text tool. Let's blow this up so it is nice and visible. There we go. I'll turn it to engrave so it's easier to see. And let's make a hat that says churros. Everybody loves churros. So I'm going to choose a font that I like. And there are tons and tons of them. And if you highlight the text, or if you're in the text, it will dynamically change the text to whatever you're hovering over, which makes it a lot easier for you to find an image that you really like, or find a font that you really like. Something important about xTool is that it'll automatically import all of the fonts that you have in your font library, so you don't have to do anything special to do that. So the font that I would like to use is called Rye. And there we have churros. The next thing I will do is I want to bend it so that it fits nicely on the hat. I am also going to change the spacing between the letters so they stick together a little better. Yeah, I like that. The next step here is to create an offset. We'll do outer shapes only. And we will raise this until the letters, the offset of around the letters connects. See that? Got the letters, and then you've got this skinnier line that is the offset. I'm doing outer shapes only, but we're still going to have to clean this up a little bit because I do not want these inner cutouts, because this offset line is where we're going to cut and the letters are where we're going to engrave. So I am going to find and highlight all of the inside cutout areas and delete them from the vector. And now we've got all these letters connected, but without the noise of those cutouts. So what I'll also do is, looking at my hat, kind of like how wide that is, how that sits. If I look at my hat, it's 5.4 inches wide. Pozole is 4.7. New Mexico is 5.9. Porque is 4.8. So in the 5.25 inch range. So I'm gonna highlight this entire thing. And I'm gonna stick those together. And our aspect ratio is locked. So I'm going to take this down to About 5.5 inches. Yeah, looks about right. Maybe a little bit smaller. And an easy way to do that is just to do 5.25. And what I'll also do is, because I wouldn't mind it taking up a little more space vertically, is I can pull that down and distort it just a little bit to make it fatter. We're going to put churros on a hat. One of the powerful things about Studio is they've got a whole lot of materials already kind of in there with a good starting point for settings for your respective machine. I'm using leatherette from Lonestar Adhesive, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And what works well, what I'm using is essentially deep brown PU leather, so I hit apply. And what will happen is I can choose the text, and that will be engraved at 10 and 600. I'm going to bump that up to 25 because I know. And then I'm going to choose the vector, which is the outline, and I'm going to choose cut for that. And I'm going to, so now what I'm going to do, I'm using the xTool P3, which is a new laser to me. I was using the P2S before, and the P2 before that. But the xTool P2S, while being a phenomenal laser that does everything I needed to do, the P3 is an upgrade in literally every way. It is much more automated in terms of recognizing material, thickness of the material, speed, it's twice as fast, and bed size is significantly larger. So we'll go have a look at that in a minute. What we've got here is the xTool P3. Again, it's much larger than the P2S. It has an 80 watt CO2 laser instead of a 55 watt, so there's more flexibility, and it will automate the measurement and recognition of materials process. This is leatherette. It's a PU material from Lonestar Adhesive, and it looks just like leather. It engraves better, and it has an adhesive on the back that works with a heat press to affix the patch that we make to the hat. In November of 2025, this is a 12 by 24 inch piece, I think. They're $15, $16, and you can get a lot of patches out of them. Very cost effective for high quality. And if you go check out Lonestar Adhesive on Instagram or any of their media, you'll see them trying to rip this off of a hat that they've affixed it to using a heat press, and it'll essentially tear the hat up before it pulls the patch off. So high quality, good stuff. I'm going to put this in the P3. And what we'll do here is it'll ask me to open the lid. And when I open the lid, you may or may not see this red light here that then turns green. There is a camera. There are multiple cameras in this machine, but there's one up here that will recognize the material, and it tells me now to close the lid, and it will raise the bed, and it will go through the process of measuring the material and recognizing it. I'm going to turn my inline fan on for when it's ready to start cooking. Okay, so my patch here, and this is a representation of what's on the bed of the P3. So I'm going to place this right here, and that is two objects, a vector And I've set that to 80% power and 25% speed. And the letters. Which is at 10 and 600, but I'm going to bump that up. Okay. So that is ready to process. I'm going to hit process. Now I'm going to hit start. I'm going to walk over and hit the button. And as you can see, the P3 has 2 cameras inside that allow you from your desktop to watch the progress of your engraving and cutting. So this is the side view. And this is the front view. So you can see it engraving as it goes. And now we've got it engraving. Can't really see it that well, can you? See if it gets a little more visible if I turn this off. No. All right. It is done. Cutting and engraving. And can you see that? We'll go clean it up and get it ready to put on the hat. Okay, got my hat patch here, cut out and engraved. There's a lot of char on it. I believe you can wipe this off with, with just some water and a cloth. I probably am overkilling a little bit, but I'm using isopropyl alcohol and a melamine sponge. Be careful, it's not. Some of these connections aren't super thick, but as you can see, it cleans up very nicely. It's about ready for the hat. Now I'll just do a little touch up on this before that. All right, I've got a Richardson 112 trucker cap, low trucker. I get these at S&S Activewear. They have great prices and they've always got hats in stock. I'm using a Vevor, just a not very expensive Amazon hat press. It does the job. You don't need to use as heavy a pressure as you probably think, so you could do really light pressure. And I just got a little bit of fabric here to make the platen a little softer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to put this hat in the press on the platen. I'm going to get it kind of situated. And I'm going to put this piece of Teflon down. And I'm just going to heat up the hat for 24 seconds. Just going to heat up the hat. And in the meantime, I'm going to grab my patch and I'm going to peel the backing off. And once it's peeled, I'm going to fold this in half to see where the middle is. So it's right there in the crook of the R. And since the hat is already warm, I can place this right on the seam of this trucker cap. Kind of eyeball the height. And now that it's placed there, I will just put this back down again, let it cook for 24 seconds at 320 degrees, and then it will be done. All right, here's your hat. Got about $5.75 into the hat. I've got about $1 or less, probably quite a bit less, into the patch. And this will go to the store, and I will sell it for $25. You can do the math. Margins are pretty good. It doesn't take that long, especially if you're doing batches of patches, and you're just running them on the heat press, one after the other. That's it. That's building a hat. All right, churro hat. I'm putting it with the rest of the hats that I've got made that are ready to go to the store. And yeah, that's the latest batch. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments, and more to come. See you next time.